went to hell and we cop like 20 shells in the box. They push your belly and pump. Twiddle my elegant touch. Midas, I'm wrestling thumbs. Sick when the medicine comes. Pricks from the Zeppelin drums. I'm just a specimen, son. Stupid, my skeleton's dumb. You wish to edit my songs. Move quick, I'm pedaling on. Move quick, the pelicans breathe. So keeps the birds and the bees. Too fake, it hurts when I eat. Too fake, rappers need to leave. Too fake, deserted retreat. Views make my girls hit her knees. Too pray for God for my seeds. Trees. The trees grow so high. So high. So high. The trees grow so high. So high. So high. So high. Trees grow fast at the grass, baby. 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 Andale, no platonic, I'ma shake global body, I'ma take your funny, we highest, they don't you honestly honor me, oh you trying to stay on the way, go to honorary, I'ma drink like 2 gallons and I'ma pay.
Alcoholic slaughter in my vocab department.
So pardon if I talk with a slur, walk with a blur, I'ma shine bright so that the dark can concur. My narrow path was straight, in fact distracted with curves. Arrows back, place me last cause I snapped at first. Heroes laugh and ask the villains, what was it worth? I was a prophet as a child and a bastard at birth. Lost my heart in the middle and this is after the search. Yeah. The trees grow so high, so high, so high. Yeah. The trees grow so high, so high, so high, so high. Trees grow fast at the grass, baby. 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 Shifting the paradigm with the paradigms I would find. Searching my mind's personal for some ranking nights. Dope dealers outside, I was quite enticed. Recite a rhyme, who come to get you nothing. I want some. I'll be the first to let off shit last to run. Roll together like blunts, jumping no runs. BB bullets to your guts, nigga, we ain't punks. First kiss was on Winona by a girl who was older. Stepping on black and mild tips, marijuana aroma. If I make it out this hole, I'ma bring you with me. She said that's cool, but I would never wanna leave my city. That shit broke me inside. The juxtaposition of my living was hopeless at times, slightly immense. In the sense that I was only like 9, such a suspense to feeling tricks to comprehend we the prime. Yeah. I see the world clearly as a weary adolescent. Scared of the future, gifted with the present. Didn't they bow for what was our destined? Searching for a blessing, didn't know I was the treasure. See the world clearly as a weary adolescent. Scared of the future, gifted with the present. Didn't they bow for what was our destined? Searching for a blessing, didn't know I was the treasure. My eyes are paced the valleys of the valuable use. Find myself surrounded with the thousands for truths. Roll bikes down the mountain like troops. I see my cousins sell powder for loot. My favorite song, oh, what do you believe in? Heaven or hell? You don't believe in heaven cause we living in hell. That's a little message I would keep to myself. Praying rainy days when silence killers creeping and stuff. I felt the 9th grade twice. I was barely in attendance. Taylor's was my dreams, though it seems to share my thoughts with teens. Check J's, a gossip about sex slaves. Listen, I must have grew up too fast. Scared of STDs, so I never really chased ass. My nigga told me about that shit, he get us and laugh. Till I was 18, I'll never forget it. My first love was the first girl I thought I got pregnant. Yeah, I seen the world clearly as a weary adolescent. Scared of the future, gifted with the present. Didn't they bow for what was our destined? Searching for a blessing, didn't know I was the treasure. Seen the world clearly as a weary adolescent.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Savani. It's good to be back. I feel like it's been forever. How y'all been holding up out there? I hope everyone's staying safe. I hope everyone's still being productive and articulating your minds. You know, just don't sit around and do nothing. Go ahead, Ralph. Go ahead.
It's your guy, Richards Fly. What up, what up? It's your boy, T.Ayers.
And this is Justin is Prom.
gonna be getting into all the juicy news. I want to know one thing before we even get started. What's one thing that y'all have been doing during this quarantine time? And y'all better not say sex. Anything besides sex.
T, that's you, man. Go ahead and get that started.
She already said we can't say it. Bro.
Oh man, what about you, Josh?
Nah, it's not real talk. Hey, look, I've been saving my. I've been trying to save money since ain't nothing open. I mean, you know,
I think
I've been trying to save.
Yeah, that is.
That's all you can do, basically. You know?
That should be the goal.
Can't buy the ball no right about now. You know?
Yeah.
Right. Shit, for me, I've been working on a couple different certifications, trying to like evolve myself as a professional overall. So, two of the certs, they were health related. One was like essential tools for epidemiology at Johns Hopkins, and then another one was like more in detail about exercise science, and then another one was like in coding. But I'm still trying to figure out that coding stuff. Like I'm not too tech savvy, but hey, it's a everyday process.
I feel
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Well, me, just trying to organize life and try to get more organized. I think since we got that time now, it's like I'm trying to use my planner more. Like I bought planners over the years and they don't be getting filled out. So now with this time, basically
now
collecting. I write
planners.
like 2-3, so I got nothing but time now. Just
now you're updating the planner
now. So yeah.
That's what's up, though.
What about you?
I feel the same. I started working out and actually sticking with it.
Okay.
Trying to eat better.
I was gonna say, like we about to see a major like change, like a whole dietary change, or is it like
I just more getting healthier, for myself.
be more aware of what
I eat, a lot of sicknesses and stuff,
Oh yeah.
I feel like
Definitely.
I didn't have the knowledge growing up, especially black people. Like what we grew up eating, fucking pork chops and fatback and like all that shit.
You know the
all
bacon?
that shit is not good for you. Clogged arteries and everything, but we still be eating it. But I don't know, whatever.
That's pretty much I think one of the reasons that we basically just eat it because it tastes good. Like it's easier to eat junk because usually the junk tastes a little better. I mean, not saying that if you have healthy food it doesn't taste good, but you gotta kind of know exactly what you're doing with it for
Yeah,
to get that taste and that flavor.
Yeah.
You gotta see what's inside these things sometimes, man. You gotta do this research, man. You know what I'm saying? My partner Justin, he hit the gym. What's your
What about you, man?
Shit, cause for me, like I really been eating more so like a variety of different fruits and grains. I like a cooked chicken and like a variety of like different seasonings and just really trying to learn more recipes because we're eating more at home now.
Yeah.
Although like you should support your local restaurants overall and whatnot because they do like takeout and they also deliver.
Yeah.
So like people should really look more into that if like you want to be like, dang, like I hadn't had like some asados or some picolas or like some Domino's in a minute, and just like see what's going on with that. And like I know that DoorDash also they uplift like the delivery fees and all the other fees where like you pay like just straight for the food price, but it has to be like over like a certain amount. I think it's like 10. But
Do you feel like you stick to a strict diet?
like
Because I know you work out a lot.
Yeah. And to really give a little bit more information about myself, I graduated from VCU studying health, physical education, and exercise science, along with a certificate in community engagement. But like my diet is like that of like I say like a kid's, I'll say, and here is like what I mean.
Okay.
Because
I was just about to say
like wait, what?
Oh, Happy
Like
Meals?
you know,
like that's what I was
Happy
saying.
Meals,
Explain,
man.
like what are you talking about, bro?
All right, so like for me, like I'm a busy individual, and to break things down into somewhat of a scientific level, the number one source of fuel in your body is glucose, which is produced and delivered. You get a great amount of glucose from simple and complex carbohydrates, so like fruits, whole grains, etc., etc. And literally, like having that amount of glucose in your body, that also helps like regulate your functions when you're asleep, because like when you're asleep, like your organs still has to run, so that way you can like develop these things, and most of your recovery and most of your growth occurs during your sleep. So really my diet is like either like Cliff Bars, fruits. I'll like cook some sweet potato and cauliflower rice with like dashes of cinnamon
you
in
way more
there.
healthier than me, brother. I was gonna say, look, he sounds way more healthier than me.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
trying to say.
Oh no! Trust me, cause like I do also fuck around and make a good batch of Henny Honey barbecue chicken wings. But
See, look.
you
I mean, you gotta balance that off. You know, that's what is that?
Yeah.
What would that be considered your cheat day kind of thing, or is it like
Alright.
on a cheat day for you? What would that be, man?
Shoot, man, I was terrible with my cheat days throughout the past couple of years. Cause like, I say like 4 years ago, like my worst cheat meal, like was literally like the chewy like Chips Ahoy cookies, but it was like the family box, and I was like,
man,
yo,
you was
I
crushing.
I was
like,
in
if
the whole box, and like whole time I'm like,
not the whole box by
Right.
yourself.
Bro,
Oh,
it's
family.
a family box, bro.
Going in.
It's a
But
family.
He
nah,
said it's a family
Family.
of one.
A
That's
family
just-
of
just
one.
me.
Family,
Yeah.
like-
me, self, and
Yeah,
myself,
you
and
and
I.
I,
Right?
yeah.
there was
that's
I
right.
in family, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But like now it's like, okay, like I gotta moderate these things. Like I'm real big into like gummy bears, also candy as well.
So how frequent do you have cheat days?
Like
think
I
it's
don't
better
really
for
like
you.
follow like the actual days because it's really like, all right, like I know that I'm gonna get in my amounts of like grains, fruits, veggies here and there, and I do like take a couple of like supplements, also like elderberry as well, which really helps out with your immune system.
Okay.
Ginger, which is really supportive for your immune health.
Surprisingly, I grew up on ginger. Like being West Indian and stuff. My grandma was one of my favorite teas is like ginger tea. So I used to drink ginger regularly. And then now the big thing that everybody's on. I mean, basically I've been on that for like years. Is like the sea moss.
Yeah.
Irish sea moss.
Yeah.
Like everybody's big on that, and like I used to have this as a kid. And I didn't even think about it like this. So it's like I don't know, but it's like a big trend now. Everybody's like sea moss. Sea
It be
moss, sea
the
moss.
lack of knowledge because a lot of
True.
people, first of all, word of mouth. Half of you know
Right.
don't read or research for themselves, and that's
Yeah,
the
that's
biggest
true.
issue.
Right.
That's the
Something's
biggest
wrong.
issue.
Definitely. Y'all just put me on, so I'm listening. I'm
Right.
Oh, so
it's
you-
like, see, nah, I ain't trying none of that. Nah,
You ain't tried the sea moss? Hold on.
Nah, bro,
First
I
of
ain't
all,
tried
if
it,
you
bro.
do the sea
I haven't,
moss,
man.
you have to do it right. Like you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody makes it, but it's not like. I guess you have to find the person that makes it with the right twist. Like everybody does different
Yeah.
things with their sea moss. Like
Bro, I'm,
don't worry about it.
Dr.
if
Sabai
I-
family
if I-
still sells
look,
it though.
it's all
said
new
what?
to me,
Dr.
man.
Sabai
Yeah.
family still sells
Yes.
it though.
So, I mean, you could
Is
use
that how you
it.
say it?
It has a lot of
Dr.
different.
Sebi.
Sebi,
yeah.
I always say Sebi.
Yeah, there's a lot of different health reasons for it, but you know, for guys, let me give y'all a little heads up. You know, it helps with your stamina.
Stamina.
Did I even say that right? I'm all.
You was on.
But yeah, I'm all.
Yeah,
know-
because
look,
like a really.
I know gonna blame this
I know
on
what
us.
you mean. I know what
You,
you mean.
you know what I
I
mean?
know what you mean.
Yeah.
According to the tequila, that's what it is.
Right.
But yeah, it's good for that. So
That's
guys,
what I say. Can kill
mm.
damn near anything.
Yeah, because
Just a little
like
plug
it
in.
literally has 92 or 91 out of like the 101, 102 different like vitamins and minerals that's out there in the world.
See?
So
That makes
yeah,
sense.
All
and
of
it's
mine.
crazy because I actually learned about sea moss in like late 2018 from Styles P's like health brand page called Pharmacy for Life.
okay.
So like literally like that page will drop like so many different like random facts, and they also do sell sea moss, but they also sell like different like organic supplements that you never even heard of before. So I'm just like, all right, and then like it's really great information on there,
Okay.
but like it's spelled like farm as in like you know like FARM if you will. So it's called like Pharmacy for Life, and then like with myself doing more research on like Styles P's health background, like he started like the juices for life bars, like
Yeah,
literally
I've heard
in like
about
the
that in a few
same
interviews.
block that like he used to sell drugs at, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
all the
You
way
know,
back in like 2011, like he started doing that, and I'm like, dang, all right, because it's him, Jadakiss, and like his wife and a couple other people that run the page. But I'm like, yo, like it's really dope information.
Yeah, I kind of heard about that from like because one thing I like to watch is The Breakfast Club. So you know,
Yeah.
I kind of learned about that from him and what's the name,
Angela Yee.
Yee. Yeah, she has a juice bar also, and they, when he was interviewing her, they kind of touched on. I guess he helped her start hers or something to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's like, you know, it's just something new that I think that we should all. I think I should try it myself. I thought about trying going to a juice bar. I was looking at a few of them that open in Richmond, but I'm gonna get some names and I'll probably drop that.
Anything healthy, I think we should try.
Yeah.
I think we should all try to do better as a
Yeah,
community.
definitely.
Yeah.
See somebody else and just spread just like a
I mean,
Right.
smile.
especially
good vibes.
like with this this whole thing going on with the corona and
Yeah.
just like
Just being
health is
healthy,
just
man.
yeah,
Health is
health
important.
is like
Health
a
is very
big,
important right now.
big.
And then
thing.
also to like really detox as well, because I'm gonna also backtrack to 2018 when I had my first and only concussion. Like, literally, I gained so much weight during like that concussion period, and then like that's when I decided to change my diet to mostly like carbohydrates, because like you're like, why am
How did
I
you
at a
get
blank for
concussion?
words? Oh,
I didn't mean
so.
to cut you off.
Oh, so like, think of your head as like a baby rattle, right?
Mhm.
Because for me, like, I was hooping at the Curry Street Gym at a VCU, and like I had two falls, cause like one, like the guy was driving to the hoop, and my ass
Charge.
is like
Foul.
muscle guy jumping up, like going for the block like John Wall, and then like we both bounce off, but like I fall towards like my side, and I'm like, okay, like literally my head did not hit the ground during both falls, and then the other fall I was like Dennis Rodman, like going out for the rebound, I save it, and then I turn, and then I'm just like and then after that, like I'm just laughing and shit, and then I go up the court, and then things started to slow down. I was like, oh okay, like I'm dazed and confused. And then I went back to my dorm, and I moved to that dorm for the summer because I was an RA during that time, which is like a residential assistant, you know, like help out with any like conflicts that goes on, maintenance, etc. Really bad time to find out that your dorm has a garbage disposal, because like the lights were like hurting me.
Mhm.
So then I'm like trying to flip every switch, and then the loud ass garbage disposal, which wasn't loud after I healed up from the concussion, but I was like, damn, what the fuck, this is
Yeah,
loud.
when your head is messed
So,
up, bro,
yeah.
everything is enhanced.
Right. So like literally I was talking to my guy Joe, which owns No Limits Nutrition, which is the shirt that I'm wearing. I actually work for them, but I work for them less now since I moved on to my current profession. Like we were talking about diets and whatnot, and I was like, yo, like what type of foods can I like discard and like replace? So literally like going back to like eating like a kid, like, you know, like having more fruits, which helps out like the immune system, brains, and for me like goldfish and bagels was also like my shit too, because they were like,
You said goldfish and bagels?
yeah. So I'm like, all right. So literally in the first week, I lost 7 pounds, and then after that, like I got
Hold
to
on.
my like
With goldfish and bagels?
and fruits and other
Oh,
carbs,
okay,
because
okay.
the thing is like you're
That's
like,
the only point that
alright,
I
I was
gold-
like,
but
yeah.
listen, so like with the increase in fiber that you get, like you're pushing out like excessive like fats and proteins that been stuck inside your digestive system for years.
Okay.
And like there's been various studies that show like your like digestive system can hold up to like 7 to like 10 pounds of like
Just waste.
waste that hadn't been digested throughout the past years.
Okay.
So although like yeah, so
Mhm.
like although like it wasn't pretty, because when your fiber intake increases, your body has to adjust to that for like a whole week. But then like after like that week, I was perfectly fine. Like I was just like, all right, like I'm feeling
Energy
better.
was
I
up.
have like more energy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more rested. My recovery rate started getting faster. Like
Is
you know,
one of
I
your
feel
goals
better.
to be a personal trainer? I mean,
Yeah, so like one of my capstones for VCU was to take a personal training course. and there were like two options. One of them was the EPC, the other one was the CSCS. The EPC was like the option if you wanted to go to grad school. I was like, I'm not going to do grad school. I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I see the CSCS site, and I'm just like, literally, it says in bold ass letters, like, 53% of people who take the exam fail it on their first try. Will you be prepared? I'm like,
Wow. Okay.
fuck.
That's
Yeah.
encouraging. Like,
So-
oh yeah. Just
yeah,
in case
so-
you thought you was
Just
gonna
in
pass.
case.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, like, I failed, but I'm currently working on another certification right now. But I know, because
But at least you tried, so you can say that you tried. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Then
but
it's just learning.
yeah,
It's an
but
experience,
also
that's
I had
all.
a real busy semester that semester because it was my very last semester. I was an intern for the health district, teaching people how to save people from like opioid overdoses, lecturing at universities, health festivals, radio interviews. Also trying to finish up classes. I was a school counselor.
Okay.
I
Oh,
was
you had a
in
lot
like
going
a
on.
whole fucking like situationship with like a 26-and-a-half-year-old mom. I was 22, so
Oh,
it was
you
just
had-
like I was balancing everything for like that
Life.
whole
Life.
semester.
You had
So
life.
like like eventually I had to take a L, and it was that L. But other than that, like that whole semester was filled with like a lot of wins. So
I
like
mean,
yeah, and then plus right now like testing sites are like closed because of the pandemic. So like I've been studying for this different certification for like the past 2 months.
How did your journey kind of start? Like, 'cause
yeah.
I know you like you're involved with the youth, but you're involved with the community. Period. So,
So pretty
when you
much,
started.
I guess she's trying to say pretty much like a little bit more background on you, career wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the
Basically
first
how you
thing,
grew
like,
up.
what just, like, got you motivated to, like, this is what I'm gonna do? Like, this is,
In fact,
you
just
know, like,
just for everybody, just run down
Right.
a list of things that you're involved in career wise. Just
Yeah, I had a
Alright.
whole different list of questions, but I'm so like intrigued with your
yeah, that's what I'm
conversation
saying.
now. So
It's,
we just
it's very knowledgeable.
Alright,
so
so-
go ahead and run that down. For
All right, so to give a synopsis of my life in general, Southside Richmond, born and raised.
Okay.
Former grade school dropout. My first job I worked was at 8-year-old doing landscaping for a local company. Yeah, like bounce around from
Right.
That's what I was gonna
elementary
say,
school to different elementary school.
Okay.
Grew up in a poverty-filled background, JD and Terminal Ave, pretty much. So there was that. Bouchard, a bit of like gang affiliations with like Sir 13 and whatnot. And a life-changing moment happened where I fought a childhood friend 3 times in the same day, won all 3 fights, and then a few days later broke into his house and assaulted him in front of his family that I knew for his whole life. So, well, for my whole life. So I'm like, damn. But my grades were good, but I kept on ending up like in some shit. So I got into this international like student program called the IB program. I still can't pronounce the B portion of the IB program to save my life, but fuck it.
it is
So
what it is.
yeah, so then I ended up graduating from TJ with a 4.1 GPA, and how I ended up getting into health and exercise science actually starts from my artistic background
Okay.
because I used to draw with like pens, sharpies, like literally I was the kid like tagging up the bathroom walls and like desks and
Oh,
stools
that
and
was you.
shit.
That was you. There's
Yeah.
a picture right now
Yeah.
about to watch this. So that's who used to do this.
Like, who
Yeah,
did
Now
it?
they
but,
know.
yeah, but
He is, everybody.
anyway, so yeah, so like with all the shit that I had to face also, like being in poverty, going through like those crazy situations, like in high school, like literally I lost my furniture and it was due to like a wild like bed bug issue. So I was literally like sleeping on the floor using the oven for heat, like waking up, going to
Oh, yeah.
school.
Oh,
But
yeah,
like
that was
literally
me, bro.
like yo, like I was shy, insecure, timid because when you like from the situation I was in middle school trying to go into high school, like I had to put like my walls up because like you can't show that you're weak, like
Yeah, you can't show. what
right,
you're
because
going
like
through
literally
at
for
home.
me,
you
like
gotta,
I'm like fucking Tim Duncan in my class, like people like trying to crack jokes because I'm quiet and whatnot, and then it's like as soon as I'm like, all right, like let's square up, they go away, and it's just like, all right.
I feel like
So-
there's a lot of
So yeah, so like
where-
People love to talk, but they're not about it.
right. So like realizing like the health issues I had physically, but also mentally as well. Like I had different heart issues growing up, but my heart was overactive because I used to play soccer with my Sir 13 peoples.
Mm.
So like I was pumping more blood than what my heart could handle.
Mm.
Now like my heart like muscles grew to where it's like it could fit like that workload that I do now, which is
Okay.
real fortunate. But just realizing like, all right, like going out into the world, I'm trying to think like what could support me more financially. And my old soccer coach was like, yo, like go into the health world. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I only applied to 4 colleges because like my background coming up for, I'm like, yo, like I don't think I'm gonna have the money to do it.
Resources to do it.
Only applied to 4 colleges: the University of Miami, Florida, the U, VSU, VCU, and Virginia Tech. I only wanted to go to Tech because of their football program. Honestly, like I was a big college football fan. Got into 3: VCU, VSU, Virginia Tech. VCU and VSU both gave me full rides. VSU was for 4 years. VCU was for my freshman year. And a conversation that like changed my decision was like I was working on like a math project where I drew TI, but I also drew like the trigonometric circle, which is like a circle with like different angles and like different equations you could use to like solve problems and shit. Like a TI calculator that the kids nowadays
Okay.
use.
Yeah.
TI calculator. So like the teacher and I like we were just talking about like everyone's at their electives and shit, and I'm like, yo, like fuck y'all, like I'm gonna just do my own thing. And he was like, yo, get the fuck out of Richmond, there's nothing for you here. I took that as a challenge, and I was like, oh word, I bet. So I went to VCU. VCU's linked up with MCV. At the time, one of the top like hospital like programs in the nation. Number 1 in 2016, by the way. So like got into there, did 3 years of clinical research for their sickle cell program, which focused on the effects of like hydroxyurea, which is a medication that helps with white blood cells production for sickle cell anemia patients. So like doing that, and then you know being a college student, having like wild like college times also, and like I didn't really feel like in my time because like I was already like off on my own at like 16 at like that point, because literally my twin and I, like we were the men of the household, like already working. Hell, like earlier I said like my first job was at 8 doing landscaping.
Yeah.
So it's
Done
like
landscaping too
I'm
for
so
summer,
used
too.
to like working and then balancing that with like classes and all that other shit. So but I took that time to like bring out like the creative side. Like I transitioned from like medium arts to music and poetry. I did music for 2 years, and then like I ended up doing poetry, and then 2016, the day that changed everything for me, like how I was really quote unquote stamped, I guess in the DMV terms, but like stamped towards like the Richmond scene, was when Sway came down to Richmond. Sway from Sway in the Morning, the show a film called The Cycle, which is about inner city violence and police brutality. And growing up when Richmond was in the top 10 most dangerous cities in the U.S. for consecutive years. So like when it was Q&A, like I was at like the tail end of like my artist career, so I was like, I'm not gonna like promote my SoundCloud, like that's not an appropriate situation to do that.
Right.
Like when talking about the context of the film, a great 12-minute short film, 12-minute silent film. The whole cast was completely African American, so it was like it's bad to say, but a stereotypical situation of like a wrongful killing, but the whole cast is black. So it was like, damn, like that's like powerful. But Sway and the leading actress Kelly Turner was there. And the director, which was actually a white dude, like he was working on another film like during that time, so he was unfortunate, like he couldn't show up. So I pop up, I'm like, yo, I'm Justin. Thank you for coming out to Richmond for the first time. Southside Richmond, born and raised. Thank you for putting me on to like my idols and favorite artists like IDK, which is formerly known as JIDK, Big Crit, Glam. So I'm saying all these like underground artists and then like major artists, and like I'm hearing murmurs in the background like, hey, yo, like, post this guy right. But you know what?
Like, you know what
Yeah,
he
right.
name a few
gotta
people,
love
man.
it.
Like,
And then like
yeah.
what really blew everyone away was because I quoted Andy Mineo from Sway's 2014 Doomsday Cypher, which also featured Glam, which is
Can I cut
my
you out
favorite
real
artist.
quick? You gonna blow them away? Cause tell them how old you are first of all.
23, but people be thinking I'm like 25, 26.
Yeah.
So
Or even older. Your
look-
mindset.
Look
is
like
a
I was
whole
about to say
different
like,
level.
hold on, 23.
different
Hold on,
level.
wait a minute, brother.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
continue. Yeah,
So,
that definitely did kind of throw some things away because you're like, hold on, how long has he lived?
Yeah,
Like,
he's
hold on.
like, he's like
Like,
2
I
years,
need to
yeah,
catch up.
journey.
2
Like,
years,
wait a minute. Like, what am I not doing? Like, I need to add some
like,
stuff to my resume.
But
Like,
like I quoted Andy Mineo from the 2014 Doomsday Cypher with Glam, which was like one of my all-time favorite artists, crushes in general. Her mom was Knick Knack from the Parasites, which also performed with Too Short and Tupac in the 90s.
Oh.
Anyhow, like Andy Mineo was rapping some verse about like politics and shit, and then the couple bars was like, a white man with a gun, oh that's insane. A black man with a gun, oh I told you they're all the same. Like, you know, like portraying Fox News and fucking political corruption. So I said that, and I'm like, how does those bars correlate with the film itself along with the topic that it's approaching? And everyone was like, yo, like what the hell?
Yeah.
And then Sway was like, yo, I'm gonna have to call Andy and ask him what he meant by that, because I didn't remember that. And
blew that man mind, man.
Right.
Sway probably ain't met. He probably was like, what?
how Sway?
How?
How
Yeah.
Sway?
Right.
So,
so many people look at things and they really don't know what they're looking at. Like they
Yeah.
don't know the deeper.
There's always a
message to-
deeper meaning to almost
So,
everything.
everything.
You can find everybody's perspective on different things will be different. Like it'll be, you'll probably look at the same art and everybody will have their own
different view.
yeah,
Right.
basically
Definitely.
about what they see. So
right.
Same thing for kids that act out like half of the time it's because something is lacking at home. They've been through something that they're just holding anger in. Like it's just
Right.
it's
Yeah,
always something.
it's always a different situation. You just never know, man. So different situations produce different, reactions.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Different, effects. All that's everything matters. Plays a part.
Exactly. So what happened after that? Cheats from the Cheats Movement podcast and his homie Big Rich invited me out to their podcast. A couple months later, helped them bring Joe Budden down to the Broadberry in 2016. I was 19 at the time.
okay.
So, like, literally 19 kicking it with Joe Budden at VIP. And I was literally talking to T about this prior because he was asking me more information about, like, how I got into, like, the scene and whatnot. So, that, and then some video director from the Curators of Hip Hop. I know his first name is Jimmy. I can't remember his last name. So he came up to me like, yo, like I followed like IDK like ever since like he was dealing with like restitution issues and being like a barber like back in like 2012 and whatnot. And he followed him for his documentary called The Curators of Hip Hop. And then he was like, yo, so like he told me more about the doc. The first episode that he had out of the 5-part series, he had Logic from like the College Park days, like rapping in the basement with Rap Pack, the D1 before he signed with RCA and a couple other artists. So he had 2 copies of like the case, right? So he wanted to give Sway like a display case, you know, for him to have in his office and whatnot, since the documentary is like a great like perspective towards the culture of hip hop. The other one was the raw copy. He gave me the raw copy. And I went back home and I watched it and yeah. So then the Joe Budden thing came along, and then a few days later, like some Nova based like brand saw me like add like their hashtag on Twitter, and then my pinned tweet was the Joe Budden shit. Like literally days later, and then they're like, "Yo, like, do you want to help us?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I know people in Richmond," and then that one brand led up to like 6 to 7 different brands, a couple different features, and
The story continues.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a lot of different things.
That's
So
all, man. Avenues, man. You
That's
open
what
your
I'm
own
about to say,
avenues,
like,
bro.
Right.
yeah, from basically everything you said, you made your own way.
You open your own
It was,
avenues,
you know,
man. That's-
overcoming a lot of trials and tribulations, but you know, you made it and have a lot of time still to go. Like,
Yeah, it's like, bro, it's like you gonna be a monster by the time you about 30, man.
like you
Like,
got
you get
stories
30,
like of
Bro,
a
you gonna be a
50,
monster,
60 year old, like,
For real,
basically.
Man. Yeah, because that's
and you're
what,
only
cause
23,
part,
so you
cause,
got
bro,
plenty of time.
I'm
man.
trying to tell you, bro. When you were saying I did this for 2 years, I did this for 3 years, I did this for
Right.
Yeah, I was no
like,
joke. I was trying to
I was
guess
like-
his age. She was like, I thought he was like me. Like he was
That's
20s,
what I
late
thought.
20s.
But
Yeah.
basically, you
Maybe
ain't
he's
hesitate.
30 now.
You just got started. You just jumped on it early, bro. You ain't play around. You know what I mean?
yeah, and even in college, like I dealt with a lot of different things as well.
But what you went through, you didn't let it define you. And I feel like that's what you got to do. Like, you got to find your strength
Gotcha.
Yeah.
through everything you go through. A lot of people, I mean, everybody is different. It's just about having that willpower, I guess, that mindset to know that you're going to be okay even if you're going through
Definitely.
something. Just know that something that you went through, somebody could have went through something that's 100 times worse, maybe
That's
the
true.
same thing. Like, that's why I be telling people it's not about necessarily telling your business, but telling your testimony to help save another life. You never know who you'll reach out.
Oh, who you
And
influence?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I fuck with you so much, because he, like, if you follow him on Instagram, go ahead, drop that joke real quick.
Just in his prime.
But he be so inspirational, like, because a lot of people don't show the flaws. They don't show how they got there, and I'm gonna be honest. I was one of them people. Like, I would just show the good shit, the picture, but I
think
wasn't showing.
everybody does that for Instagram. Like Instagram is that platform where everybody
It
does
is.
that little front, but you know, truth be told, you got to find the balance of it. Like I feel like for some people, they don't want to show too much of their background.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
how
guess
I
it
was.
it just depends on how much you've overcome the situations that
Right.
you're going through. Because
That's
some people are
exactly.
always still work in progress.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
so I mean, I think it's really important to show that journey, though. Even though people are work in progress, I think that's very important to show that journey, because that journey could help somebody else going through something at any time. Like just listening to everything you said and
Right.
what you came from, and you know the side of town you're from, and you know everything you've gone through. Probably from this interview, there's probably gonna be maybe some youngster right now that's just gonna be like, yo, that's kind of, you know, I've had that happen to me. Man, I had to work early age.
Yeah.
I've had to fight a lot of, like, you probably just inspired some other youngster coming up, like,
They gonna say if he did it,
yeah,
I can do it.
basically, that's
Yeah.
pretty much what the
Yeah.
goal is, just to inspire everybody around you. So I think that's kind of dope that you're only 23.
Right.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, if the Rona didn't happen, like, I would have lectured at Union on March the 24th. I would have been 23 and lectured at all 4 of the major 804 universities: VCU, University of Richmond, VSU. Like, literally all 3 of those I did last year. But I also lectured at VCU at 19 for an event. So that was like, alright, cool. But the VSU and the University of Richmond joints, like, those were very unexpected. But the Union one, I worked on that shit for almost 8 months. Like, literally after I graduated VCU, and then, like, before, like, Band Legacy 2 happened in Richmond, because, like, it was a graduation gift for me, and I was going to interview different battle rappers and whatnot. So I was like, alright, like, worked on it for 8 months, then the Rona happened, then I'm like, let me see if I could do, like, a Zoom type thing, you know? But then, like, I learned they do, like, an internal system, and I'm like, shit.
Right.
But, yeah, like, it was, yeah, like I'm real thankful of those experiences. But it wouldn't have started if I didn't like present at VCU talks in 2016. And the background story on that, my first college assignment in 2015 was a diagnostics essay. Like, all right, like show me like how you could write. There were 3 prompts. If you put a gun to my head, I can't remember the other 2. So it was like, all right, the eulogy one. Plot twist, wrote it about myself, but I wrote it through a perspective of a friend.
Oh wow.
And then we had to do this 4-minute presentation. I'm seeing everybody like laptops, phone, flashcards. Me, I'm just like, fuck it. Like I'm gonna just speak from the heart because I lived it already. Like literally, one eye was like to the class of like 28 because it was like a specific university class. The other eye was on the clock. 3 minutes 58. Out of the 28 people that was in the class, 5 of them were crying, including a transfer student from the University of Chicago. So, yeah, so the VCU professor told me about how they do like a TED Talk thing in the spring semester. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't think anything else about it. Like, I wasn't as confident in myself during that time. So the spring semester rolled through. He's like, hey, so you remember that joint? I'm like, yeah. So we met up with the head of like the whole program shit. I tell her my story. She's crying. She's like, yeah, we gotta have this. So we practiced like 3 different versions. And then on the day of, like, I remember waking up, bawling my eyes out, crying. And then I'm like, fuck. Like, I can't gather my thoughts. What the fuck? Like, I talked about this shit last semester and these other 3 times. So I'm just writing everything down. I'm like, all right. I'm cool, like I'm good. I do it. It was entirely different from the other 3 versions. But then to have like a 50-something-year-old woman come up and dap you like one of the homies, like, yo, like you did it really well. And I'm just like, yo, like why is your dap so strong?
not the fact that she congratulated. Why is your dap so strong? Like
yo, I was like,
yeah. She ready to pull you
hey,
closer.
whoa,
Like, yo,
you work out? What
you know, like, just like literally pull me in, like, all right,
like,
boom. I'm just like, all right,
so
but
strong,
out of like
strong.
a room of 150 people,
Right.
it was like dope. And then I visit my high school TJ every year except for like this January for like the IB reunion. And I found out in 2017 because I sent it to the old IB coordinator. Her sister teaches at the University of Nevada. She sent her my presentation and she showed it to her class for like a whole semester because like at the time VCU had the highest rate of first generation college students in the university's history, 35%. I was one of those. So it was like, all right, cool. So that was like real dope. Like I literally jumped for joy. Like no bullshit, I jumped for joy. So it was that, and then like as the years passed and I kept on coming back, people are saying leave Richmond, and then I'm the one guy like, well, I did this, I did that.
Yeah, show your
like
accomplishments.
you know
Right.
like because like people are so focused on leaving the city because like they hadn't expanded past either like their vision of like their neighborhood or that they hadn't like diversified like their networking or think that because they're going to leave this city going to another one that like the problem's going to go away, but if the problems are internal, like that's just going to go with you everywhere.
Yeah, it's going you know, it's what you do with where you at, you know what I mean? You take your problems with you, you know what I'm saying? If you got a problem here, it's going, you know, it is what it is. So,
yeah, I think you can make
know.
it pretty much out of anywhere, and I think that makes for a dope background on, you know, just life perspective and everything like that. So I think, you know, everybody has to go through something for them to be able to make it to wherever they need to make it. So it doesn't,
Right.
I don't really think where you're from exactly determines how far you could go.
No.
I think it's like stepping stones to that. Like if you choose to stay home, you could be the best at whatever you choose to be in your hometown. But if you choose to leave, you could leave with whatever you came out of your hometown with and spread it around. So
Definitely, man. Put on for your city, man.
Yeah,
Y'all put on for your city, man.
It's
You know what I mean?
it's about the mindset. That's what I said. But we're going to go ahead, y'all, take a music break, and then we'll be back.
Whoa.
Another set of questions for you.
attention, my attention is a rather globe up. I can't pay you no attention, my attention is a rather globe up. It's not unusual to see that you don't do enough for me, so I can't pay you no attention, my attention is a rather globe up. Okay, back with another one, so get the picture. Captured another one, forget the filter. Handle situation that's against myself. I don't need a tip, so relax yourself. Looking like an African, it's discipline. Ask a nigga how you been, magnificent. Show up like it's in my time, let's get it in. Hold on, let me advertise, it's like a den. With my feet and them shining, I feel like I'm bought an island. Calling up Shavon, like, can you put me up with stylist? Got a flutter, keep them neckties, so what's the dinner? In the studio, chefing up another winner. I just wanna live life, sitting back and be a killer. Whatever keep me goes, like you know, it's when the sun is in the summers and the fall, and summers in the winter. Yes, it's for my ladies with the soul shakers. It's for my niggas making choices like a lawmaker. Keep a vision, see to it, there's a law gave you. Keep it working if you don't know what the law with you. Like a boy, don't get involved with the wrong bangle. I can't pay you no attention, my intention is a rather globe up. I can't pay you no attention, my attention is a rather globe up. It's not unusual to see that you don't do enough for me, so I can't pay you no attention, my attention is a rather globe up. The difference of what you want and you need. The difference between genuine and greed. I slip once and fall back in a dream. I feel sick at the constitute of my being. What you see is what you get, though it's not what it seems. Yeah, see it's not what it seems. Standing alone, no fame or fortune. When I get a passion, you can't take it from my coffin. Out of a land, so driven like a Spartan. With like the Iron Man, tattoo rocking. Right of a man, peel back, I gotta toss it. Shooting for the heavens, know the stars embrace. Pushing past the fears in my basic space. Basic, make no shaking, bake, put the hammer to the nail, my basics. Crazy, yeah. Pursuing happiness, the placement of my paddle. Using my own tool, I had to embody so. Determined to rocky when you find to control. Up and down, left, right, success in the danger zone. I can't pay no attention, my intention is a rather globe up. I can't pay no attention, my attention is a rather globe up. It's not unusual to see that you don't do enough for me, so I can't pay no attention, my attention is a rather globe up. Honestly, I've been absolutely hot in me. Possibly I felt allergic to the average key. And after me, what's the letter that come after Z? Check the sneeze, cause I'm blessed if you don't perceive. Check it out, I'm the guy you don't know about. Even now, I took the time moving Uber style. I told him I did it once before. The second time, twice as raw. I did it every time they told the winner do it. And even when I lost, I watched the winner do it. And then I took a turn, I split the winners through it. So now I buckle up, I got some numbers for it. In case the winner bad, I got some summers for it. And if you try to stress it, you gon' fall, homie. Life could be a cruiser, you just gotta swing the chords, homie. You just gotta swing the chords, homie. Whoa.
Oh, yo, we back. Yeah, me and Justin, we
behind the scenes.
What y'all over here talking about?
Okay.
What y'all talking about?
My man talking to me about his art skills. He can draw too.
Yeah, from like past experiences, cause before the break I talked about how like I grew up like heavy on like medium arts, and then like I was filling him in on some murals that I did with a few other homies, like out in Hopewell, for this community center called Somebody to Somebodies. And like the homie like asked me if like I wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah, to like get back into like that like medium art thing, and then like something told me to show him like a picture of like Thanos I drew for like a elementary school kid when I was a youth counselor. And although like I didn't finish it because the mom like took him, but
That's dope.
yeah.
Cause I can't draw. I can do stick figures.
I was about to say that's. That's
Hey, look, I ain't.
Look, I'm
stick figure,
yeah, like
stick figure crew.
Yeah.
There we go. We in here, stick figure crew.
Hey,
You know
it's
how
a
we
start.
do.
It's a start. Listen.
It's a start.
Yeah.
Progress.
Put some
So you
hands
said
on
you
'em.
recently changed your profession as well. So what was your past profession? What is your profession now? And what would you say your overall goal to get to? Yeah.
All right, so my current profession, without giving too much, obviously, like I work with patients. So, like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. I do have a variety of health backgrounds, but I currently work with patients in a very interesting time we're in. So, yeah, like, I've seen things change. Well, changed at one point daily, weekly, sometimes hourly. So yeah, like it's been a interesting experience. Like I like found it fun for the most part because I've been trying to like find a new career path since like November. So like which is why like I decided to get those certifications that I like mentioned at the start. So there's that. Before that I was a youth counselor, so that was a lot of fun. That also goes into like what you mentioned earlier about like kids and like certain traumas and whatnot, and like that really like helped me out. So I was like the role model that I needed when I was growing up because I didn't really have a role model, and I didn't have like that male like father figure influence in the household. So to really give a perspective on that, think like a Cherokee skin Stone Cold Steve Austin with green eyes and prison tats that went to jail for everything except killing. Yeah, so like I found a lot of pride within like being like a youth counselor and whatnot and all that other stuff. And then
I've heard that. Like,
yeah.
when you go through things, you know, you can relate to other people, and it makes you more relatable to a lot of situations because of all the true life experiences that you've had over just being born, and especially a counselor, you run into kids, and you being older now, you have the maturity to see that, you know, these were kind of the things you were involved in, but you
And
know,
you can also
to
pick up.
rationalize it now.
You can also pick up on their actions without them even saying anything. Like I had someone ask me how did I start teaching or whatever, and of course it's academically for me, but my goal honestly is to help that child with everyday life, mental. Like I've had kids that's in 4th, 5th grade talking about grandparents not only had died before school started, but OD. They seen their parents get shot, and I'm just like in 3rd or 4th grade, like I couldn't imagine. And that shit is what has broke my heart the most during this corona, when I know that they might not be in the best situation. You know, parents may be in jail, they're living with grandma and stuff, and you know their grandparents doing the best they can, but it's just like it's heartbreaking. I'm not gonna lie. And I can condone that you being the role model that you wanted to look up to as a child. Though I had both of my parents in the household, I've witnessed things, arguing and all that shit. Like it just made me one not want to argue. Two, when I do have kids, like if we go argue, maybe we can take that shit outside, because being around that, it gives you this strength in a way that isn't healthy. Because I didn't talk about shit.
Right.
We'll keep it in. Why are you smiling like that?
No, cause like I was thinking like if I wanted to go to something serious or to like something humorous, cause it also relates to like being a role model for a child.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you like pick the poison, like something serious or like some bullshit, which is like that good bullshit that like what had happened was like type bullshit.
We can go with the bullshit.
Alright,
So
so-
serious the whole time. That's
I
why
love
it's
it.
bullshit.
What had happened was
So am I gonna have to just debunk this thing? Like, are you serious?
Alright,
Like,
so-
how serious are we
alright,
going?
so-
Am I gonna need
Alright,
therapy
so-
after this? Like,
Alright, so
The suspense is killing.
hey, look, I'm like,
Like,
come on. What?
you know, cause like we like talked about it outside.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
like, I dated a mom, right?
Mhm.
She was like 44.5 years older than me. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, she had a 5-year-old, like, graduated from A&T at like 20. I'm like, damn, like,
Right.
she's smart. So
At
I
20.
was
Yeah,
gonna say,
so,
hold on.
like,
wait a minute, let's do the math.
yeah. So I'm like, all right, like, things were like fine. It was a really interesting like situationship because it was like first time I was exclusively dating. Although like we didn't put like the titles on there, but
Right.
people knew we were. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right. So, and it's crazy because I actually remember you like last year because like I like posted Shorty like on my ID and then you was like, oh my gosh, like she's cute. I'm like, yeah.
I was
So-
sitting there wondering where you talking about her.
yeah,
Like,
so like I remember this was like a few days before we like fell off and whatnot, and like we fell off for entirely like different reasons,
Right.
and we're on like real like good terms now. So you know like the grocery store app things that like have people deliver like groceries to like your
Mhm.
place. So like I meet up at her place, like had like some IHOP with her and like the daughter was also having some IHOP. And then she was like, oh, like my like groceries came in. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we're like just chilling, just watching something on Hulu. And then like she's pulling out like toilet paper, like cans, butt plugs, this, that. And then like she was like literally like, do you know what this is? And I'm like, yo, we have ears. like,
Like it's
Like,
not just
yeah,
us
like,
in here.
whoa,
Like,
whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, wait.
yeah.
The kids,
Right.
cover the ears, close the eyes. Oh, God.
Right,
Go to
right.
your room, like.
alert.
Nah, cause like yo, like it was like odd, cause like she thought I was like timid to like talk about that, but I was like, no, cause like I wanted to be like a role model for like the kid,
Yeah.
and then
so-
it's like I'm literally doing everything to be like, yo, we have ears from like you know the eye movements to that like fucking Dominican lip point, like yo, we got kids.
Right.
like,
And it should
like-
have been the other way around, if anything.
yeah.
Right, so I'm just like, alright, like this was different, but like she was laughing at first, and I'm like, yo, like I don't really want to talk about this because like,
There's a kid present. like,
right, and then it's like,
certain
although like,
things.
right,
Don't talk about it.
right, and then it's like, although she's 5, I'm like,
The kids are
I was
smarter
about to say,
than
they
what.
at 5.
I
You can
remember-
I
They
can
know
remember a lot of stuff from
everything.
5.
I remember a lot of shit
I got
from
a
5.
good long-term memory.
Like,
So from
same.
5, I can remember a lot of things.
At
that
5,
happened
they
at
just
5 for me.
absorbing everything.
Yeah, they
just
just
Like,
like
so-
they just like
recording.
feed me. yo.
They'll come back
They
later
basically
on and like you
feed
like.
me, yo,
I remember this from 5. You like, hold on, wait a minute, Mom. You remember that time you were trying to have this conversation?
butt plug.
Yeah, so
That's why this generation is like fucked up because they're so exposed to so much. I feel like it starts at home.
Yeah,
Super
but
exposed.
I'm just like,
Right.
wow, like.
Wow.
You know, like I like get it because of like the positions like we were in like during that time, but I'm just like,
Mind blown.
yeah, cause like now you see like if the kid wasn't there and like whatnot, like that's perfectly fine. Like I
Yeah, because
get
it's
it,
a whole different field.
Yeah.
It's just me and you.
Yeah.
You know?
right?
You ain't gonna do the same.
Like you know, like we can like talk about these things, but with me still being a counselor during that time, I'm
it
like.
kind of threw you all
think-
the way off. Like,
Yeah, and then it's like I'm thinking about like the kid, and then I'm thinking about a very specific experience that I saw when I was 5, and I can literally like remember fucking Undertaker versus Spike Dudley on fucking Monday Night Raw in 2002, and like my mom was dating somebody during the time. Some shit happened, like I still don't remember what exactly led up to it.
Right.
But you know, like fucking Cherokee Skin Stone Cold Steve Austin comes in, bop, 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 beats his ass, goes away, comes back, bam, and crippled him.
Hmm.
So I'm like thinking like, yo, like this is why I didn't want to have that talk. And then like Shorty's best friend also was like relaying to me about some things because she was fully supportive of it.
Mm.
So she was like, yeah, like she didn't like how like you was doing this, and then like even still explaining like, yo, like there's a kid. Yeah, but yeah, like that was a funny yet like awkward experience I had.
So basically,
I bet.
that kind of
Yeah.
triggers the, you know, there's a time and place for everything. That's always been my motto.
Right.
It's like a specific time and place for everything, especially like when you're supposed to. I think that's another reason that certain like kids grow up how they grow up. Like I think you should let kids be kids and explore kids stuff, and like the adult stuff kind of push that to the side when it comes to the kids, because I mean that just kind of takes away from your youth. Like when you gotta deal with adult situations, but you're not an adult, so your mindset, you know, it could trigger it in so many other ways. It could trigger it into maturity, or it could, it could trigger it into trauma.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
and then it's like, even like having like the birds and bees talk. Like I never had that in my life. Like I had to overhear like conversations,
yeah.
and then like you know how in middle school people be like, yo, like I was fucking so and so, and then it's like at times they can be true, but at times they lying.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say, I think
lying.
middle school, a lot of people told a lot of stories
Yeah,
to
like,
try to boost their image. Like I was
Yeah.
doing, nah, I don't think you was, bro. Like thinking about it now, like as you older, you're like, I don't think you were doing nothing that, and then you probably ask them later, or you know, as
forgot.
you're all
Like,
grown.
What you
I
talking
wouldn't
about?
remember
talking
telling
about?
you. I didn't say I did that. I didn't say that.
I forgot about that line.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so it's just like, yo.
Time and places.
Yeah, like
Right.
like there's a
And
time and
especially
place
for
for
the kids,
everything,
time and place
and
for
just
kids.
like let kids be kids, and then slowly like inform them about things as
Yeah,
they come along.
I think age